this video essay, I'm going to be looking at the work of three-time Oscar winner Emmanuel Lubezki. I want to take a closer look at the techniques he uses to construct three scenes from some of his more famous works: Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, The Revenant, and Children of Men. Whilst there are many obvious differences between these three films and the scenes in question, they all share a few common characteristics which are evident of Lubezki's personal style of cinematography. The particular aspects I'm going to discuss are not the only ones which he uses, but are the ones which are most key to understanding his signature style. I want to start by looking at the technique which Lubezki is most commonly associated with, the long take. This first clip is from The Revenant and is taken from a scene where the main character, Hugo Glass, escapes an attack from a local tribe. As you can probably tell, the entire 20-second clip consists of only two shots, during which we switch from what appears to be a shakier handheld shot to a smoother tracking shot where it seems the camera is mounted on a Steadicam. When discussing The Revenant with Awards Daily, Lubezki talked about what he learned shooting Birdman the previous year. He said, "Those shots that are long and have no editing, when you immerse the audience in those shots, how different emotions come out of that, as opposed to cut, cut, cut." It's easy to see what he means when you watch the clip back, as the audience will become part of the scene with few cuts to distract us from the action. Having just two shots with such a smooth transition means the action appears to unfold from a single point of view. When the camera cuts to a different angle, the perspective of what's happening changes, which can break the illusion for the audience. The car ambush scene from Children of Men is another excellent example of a long take. The entire scene is shot in a single take, which is about 4 minutes long. By shooting the scene this way, the action plays out in real time, which creates even more tension within the scene. Couple this with the eye-level position of the camera, and the shot becomes incredibly immersive, especially as the camera stays inside the car with the characters. In a way, we as the audience also become a passenger in the car. If we take another look at the clip from The Revenant, you can see it is shot mainly at the actor DiCaprio's eye level. Throughout the shot, we are also alongside DiCaprio, following him on his escape. I think this again builds on the idea of us, the audience, being there with him. Coupled with his close proximity to the camera, the shot evolves from a wide overview of the action to a more intimate close-up. This suggests to me that the camera is representing the point of view of the war party hunting him down. We also see this technique used throughout Children of Men, especially in the scene we are examining. Birdman also follows the trend, but the camera does lower slightly towards the end of the clip, most likely to emphasise Norton's anger in the heated debate between him and Keaton. Another distinctive feature of Lubezki's work is his preference for wide lenses, often in the 14 to 27mm range. An article from the Society of Camera Operators reported that for The Revenant he used lenses between 12 and 21mm. The best example from these three films is Birdman. In order to emphasise the claustrophobic atmosphere of the theatre in which the film is set, these wide lenses are used even for close-ups. As you can see in the clip, this gives an unusual perspective to the shot. Using a wider lens also means that the camera has to be positioned closer to the subject. This arguably makes the shot feel more personal. Again, going back to The Revenant, we can see the same techniques used in the close-up of DiCaprio. In Children of Men, due to the cramped interior of the car and the expansive action unfolding outside, a wide lens is essential for capturing every aspect of the scene. What I also find interesting about Lubezki's use of the camera was his choice to shoot on digital ARRI and RED cameras for The Revenant, whereas for Children of Men, he shot on film with an ARRICAM Lite LT and ARRI Flex 235. Shortly after The Revenant's release, he was interviewed by DP Review. There, Lubezki revealed that he and director Alejandro Inarritu originally planned to shoot on film. However, he said that during the camera test, they found that the grain and texture from film cameras was making the world of The Revenant look more romanticised. It wasn't really allowing me to get immersed into the world of these trappers the way digital cameras did. I think this statement is key to understanding the philosophy behind Lubezki's work. His aim is not to create a representation of something on the screen, but rather to drop the audience directly into the scene itself, making it feel real. This is also apparently his reasoning for shooting primarily with sharper lenses, favouring Zeiss Master and Ultra Primes. Lubezki wants to put as little distance between the audience and the characters as possible, almost as if we are watching through a window rather than a camera lens. If you think about Birdman in this way, we are not on the other side of a cinema screen, but part of the theatre audience watching the performance. Another technique key to crafting realistic scenes is lighting. In particular, I want to discuss how Lubezki lights his scenes, or rather why he often doesn't. One of the things that I particularly like about his work is his use of natural or existing ambient lighting. Both Children of Men and The Revenant are excellent examples of this. Birdman differs from the other two films when it comes to lighting, as the mostly interior setting required artificially lighting. However, in line with Lubezki's style, the lighting is as realistic as possible, with most of the light coming from the theatre's stage lights, windows, or existing lighting in the streets, like we see in the clip. Whilst he's not averse to using additional light when absolutely necessary, case in point Birdman, Lubezki's made it clear in various interviews that he much prefers using natural light to lighting scenes artificially. In one interview he said, "The idea of using natural light came because we wanted the audience to feel, I hope, that this stuff is really happening." The Revenant is definitely the best example of his use of natural light, as Lubezki only used artificial lighting for this one shot, as the scene from the fire just wasn't suitable on its own. Apart from this, no additional lighting was used in the film at all. If we take a closer look at the clip, you can see that Lubezki has used the sun to backlight DiCaprio, with the light also reflecting slightly off the snow, helping to light DiCaprio's face. Whilst the overcast sky helps diffuse the natural light, it's still quite harsh, a reflection of the unforgiving environment in which the story is set. In this way, Children of Men is somewhat similar. Thanks again to the overcast sky, the natural light is dull, almost boring. For a sci-fi film set in a future void of hope, this is rather fitting. The contrast of the unlit interior of the car and the brighter exterior also helps isolate the characters and audience from the attackers outside. This builds on the feeling of being trapped inside the confines of the car. Lubezki's choice of colour palette also contributes to the realistic feel of his shots. Of the three films, Birdman is the only one with strong colour motifs. Throughout, the colours red and blue are used in contrast, in the lighting, props, costume and set design. You can see evidence of this in this shot, with the strong blue lighting behind Norton and Keaton's red tie. Other than that, like the other two films, I think the colour palette could best be described as muted. Lubezki uses a lot of earthy colours such as green, brown and beige. In the case of The Revenant, like with the lighting, this is really a reflection of the film's setting, the same of which can be said of Children of Men. This once again comes back around to the idea of realism. If Children of Men had a colour palette of primary colours, then it just wouldn't fit the depressing and bleak future of a country on the brink of collapse. It's clear from examining these clips that Lubezki's style is most definitely one of realism. His aim is to create scenes which are as close to real as possible, and he uses all the tools at his disposal to achieve this. He wants the audience to believe what they are seeing and be immersed in the story, without being distracted by the overly stylized imagery we see in so many films today. In other words, he doesn't want to show you what he sees, but rather what the characters would see if the films were reality rather than works of fiction.